Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you guys 10 tips that I think that would be super helpful whenever you're starting your clinicals. These are just some things that I've picked up. I just have them on my phone right here and I'm just gonna go through them real quick. I kind of just separated it from like before clinicals, during clinicals, and then after clinicals. Right, number one is come prepared, and that's pretty self-explanatory, but the day before I had clinical, I would always look over what paperwork that was assigned, whether that be a care plan or specific assignments for that unit. I'd always just print it out and make sure to look over it so I know what to expect and what I need to fill out when I'm on the floor. With that being said, I would always research a little bit about what floor I'm on to make sure that I've become prepared. Something that was really small that made a really big impact was making my dinner the night before and making enough to bring to lunch the next day. I know it seems a little bit small, but honestly that made a big difference in saving time. With all that, you still have like some studying that you have to do, so that just shaves a little bit of time. I would also recommend putting out your outfit on like your desk or table the night before, just so you don't have to like scramble in the morning. If you're ever running late, you already have your outfit on the table. I would do this with my clinical paperwork, my outfit. Now with COVID, we have to, wear our mask and have PPE. So I would put out my mask and my facial in the kitchen so I remember to bring it in the morning, because in the morning you're pretty rushed. You're making sure to eat breakfast, you're getting all your stuff together, and you're getting ready. I found that having everything laid out for me in the morning really helps with getting to the hospital on time, and if you're like picking up a friend or something, like you obviously don't want to be late. So having everything out the night before and making sure that you know what's going to be expected of you whenever you get on the floor in the morning. My second tip is to make sure to know what you can and cannot do during clinicals. Every hospital has a different policy on what nursing students can perform during clinical, so I would honestly just become aware, because you don't want to get in trouble by the hospital or your instructor. I know for me, I had one hospital where we could not perform glucometers. However, the other hospital I was at, we could. So just making sure that you are performing activities that are within your scope of practice so you don't get in trouble by your clinical instructor or the hospital. Okay, number 3 is make a goals list of what you want to complete during your clinical. So this comes with knowing what unit you're going to be on specifically. For example, if you're on the labor and delivery floor, you'll probably have an opportunity to put in a Foley. What I would do is take like a little sticky note and put like what I want to do during clinical, whether that be put in an IV, do a head-to-toe assessment, or like put in a Foley. I'd write that down just so I have an idea of what I'm going to do during clinical, and if your nurse asks you, what do you want to do today, like you could tell her because you already have your list over there. And it also feels good because like each clinical day I always want to check something off, like a new skill that I did. So it kind of just helps with building your skills, and it just kind of makes you look forward to clinical day. So tip number 4 is to watch videos on what skills you want to perform the next day, just to brush up on your skills. An example of this would be if you're on like the pre-op floor and you will have an opportunity to put an IV. I would watch like 3-minute videos on YouTube on how to put in an IV, just to have a refresher. And also I'm a visual learner, so watching it the night before and also the morning of, maybe if you have time, could help you during clinical. You kind of just remember what you saw, and also making little notes and putting that on your clipboard as well. I would do that whenever I knew that I had an opportunity to perform something that I really wasn't confident in. Next tip I have is to always say yes. You always want to be open to doing anything and everything, but again, only in your scope of practice as a nursing student, because this is your time to really use what you learned during class and to actually apply it during clinical. Honestly, whenever you're in clinical, like be that shining star, be that student that's always saying yes to doing everything, asking questions, and really getting the most out of your clinical day, because you're gonna be there for like 8 to 12 hours. So you really want to just say yes to everything, really just go out and do it. And even if you mess up, that's okay, because you're learning. That's the great thing about being a student, is you're learning and you're gonna take those mistakes, learn from it, and improve. You're not always going to get it right on the first try. So if you just say yes and you try and you do it, like that's all that honestly like you can ask of yourself. Number 6 is to try to become familiar with your hospital's computer system / charting system. This will be super helpful whenever you're filling out your clinical paperwork. I know that some hospitals have students do online modules, and in the modules they'll teach you on how to look at like a patient's information or how to like look at their notes or their previous history. Becoming familiar with the hospital's online charting system will save you a lot of time whenever you're filling out your clinical paperwork. And honestly, after one time, it's pretty easy to get a hang of it. This next tip is probably the most important tip that I have out of all of these, and that is to really make connections and network as much as you can during clinical. And this is especially important if this is a floor that you'd want to work on in the future. Just the little things and having a conversation with your nurse is so important, because at the end of the day, they have been in the same exact shoes as you have. I've met so many incredible nurses on my clinical rotation, so just building these connections now is so important. Okay, number 8 is to bring a nursing diagnoses list with you whenever you're filling out your clinical paperwork. I found one online. It was like a PDF packet of all of these nursing diagnoses. If I can find it again, I will definitely link it down below in the description box, because this definitely helped me whenever I was going through my patient's information. And sometimes your clinical instructor will ask you like, what is a nursing diagnosis for this patient? And number 9 is if you have any downtime during your clinical day, I would definitely take that time to your advantage and try to complete as much of your care plan or clinical paperwork as you can. Whenever you get home from clinical, you're gonna be super tired and probably have to study for other things. So I would definitely take that time to your advantage and fill it out. My last tip is to really keep an open mind whenever you're in clinical into each unit that you're on, because you might end up loving it. And if you go through the whole clinical day and you love what unit you're on, definitely go up to the charge nurse after clinical or the manager. Really have a conversation with them and tell them how much you enjoyed that specific unit, and hopefully, who knows, maybe they'll give you their contact information. So if you're interested in something, definitely express it to them and tell them how much you love it. All right, so those are my 10 tips on how to be successful during clinical, but I do have some more that I'd like to mention that I think that would be super helpful as well. Another thing is to bring a pocket drug book with you, because you're gonna have a lot of drugs that you don't even know the name of. And chances are you're probably gonna have to put the patient's drug in your care plan. So definitely take a drug book with you. I do have a video up right now on some clinical essentials that I think that you need to be successful whenever you're on the floor. And I'll go ahead and link that in the description box or somewhere on the screen. But other than that, some moving vlogs are coming pretty soon, which I'm so excited about. And honestly, if you have any other questions that you'd like to ask, my Instagram is in the description and I would love to answer them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.